Dobar dan i dobrodošli u novu epizodu podcasta o dualnom obrazovanju. Moje ime je Aleksandram Milić i danas ćemo govoriti o iskustvima stranih država kada govorimo o implementaciji dualnog obrazovanja. Naime, dualno obrazovanje u Srbiji realizujemo već više od 10 godina i zapravo cijelu inicijativu uvođenja dualnog obrazovanja negde smo počeli od saradnje sa Nemačkom. Zatim se posle par godina u tu saradnju priključila i Austrija, odnosno Austrijska privredna komora i Austrijski institut za razvoj obrazovanja, da bi kasnije, pre par godina, se u, da kažemo, tu stranu podršku uključila i vlada Švajcarske sa svojim ekspertima koji i dan danas zajedno sa Austrijom pružaju podršku na ovom putu implementacije dualnog modela obrazovanja. Sa nama je danas gost iz Austrije, iz Austrijskog instituta za razvoj obrazovanja i sa njim ćemo govoriti o tome kakva su to iskustva koja sad već su pa i 10 godina ovde prisutna, kakva su to iskustva Austrije u saradnji sa Srbijom i šta je to što je još pred nama kada je u pitanju realizacija dualnog obrazovanja. Moj gost danas je gospodin Kurt Šmit iz Austrijskog instituta za razvoj obrazovanja IBV. Kurt, welcome and thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you. Dobar dan.
Dobar dan. So we will do this episode in English, and I have to say for me it's a bit challenge. But
for me too.
Yeah, I mean, it's not our mother language, but I think that we can make it as we did make a lot of things in these previous 10 years.
Exactly.
So again, thank you so much. I'm really glad to have you here. We are collaborating in this topic for almost a decade now, I have to say. And we are still collaborating, so it's not the end, of course, of our cooperation. So I wanted maybe to start our conversation today just with you personally to explain to us, so who is Kurt Schmit and what do you do and what your organization does when we are speaking not only about dual education but also all the topics that you cover.
Okay, thanks a lot for inviting me. Who is Kurt Schmit? I'm coming from Austria, living in Vienna, working at the Institut IBW, which is a kind of research institute for vocational education and training, VET. I do the research for about 25 years, something like that. So very much focus on Austria, but also during, let's say, 15 years, doing international comparative studies when it comes about VET systems, when it comes about financing, governance, all the things like that. And I would say that about since 10 years, we also have engagement and are in projects when it comes to assist, advise countries that would like to reform their VT systems more in line of work-based learning, dual VET. And our institute was founded in 1975 by the Austrian Chamber of Commerce and the Federation of Austrian Industry. So it's an employer-guided or directed institution, but we are a non-profit organization. And unfortunately, we do not get a lot of money from our founders, so we have to finance ourselves by doing projects. So ministries are our customers, public employment service, regional governments, educational organizations, European Union project, international projects, and also let's say development donors like either the Austrian Development Agency or the Swiss Corporation or GSZ. I think these three institutions are well known in Serbia. That's how we finance our institute. And what do? We do research, I already mentioned it, so it's really the at the intersection between what does the labor market need, which qualifications, which competencies, which skills should people have so that they can do their jobs in the labor market, and on the other hand, what is needed on the educational side to provide for that. So that spans the whole range from, let's say, initial vocational education up to continuous vocational education. Let's say that's the research perspective. And the second part, what we do is we very much support the Austrian dual VET system. So that starts from that we design tools, instruments, websites from vocational orientation and guidance. Let's say it's the beginning. Then we are assisting the sector or the chamber and the employer side when it comes to designing occupational profiles that, let's say, is basically defined by the industry, by the companies, but we support that process and moderate it. And then, let's say, curriculum development, training guidelines, training support, up to the end, to the final exam, which in Austria has a practical part, and which is done by practical people, let's say skilled people from the Chamber of Austria. And we support that. We support to qualify the examiners. It's important that examiners are qualified. And we will even design the question for the examination. So we do also the quality check for that side to be a little bit more standardized, to be valid, to be comparable. So it's from the whole range from, let's say, the start, orientation, which job, which occupation a young person could do or would be interested in, up to the end, to the final exam.
Yeah, so really like from the very beginning till the very end of the whole process. And how many people do you have in IBW?
Plus minus 40 people.
Yeah, that's maybe not enough people for all the jobs.
It's never enough.
Yeah, all our institutions always like suffer from lack of people, but I can say that in the times that I can see, when I can see what you do in Austria, it's really a great job that you do there. Okay. And I have to say that, like, from the job you are doing there, we steal a bit.
Hopefully.
We steal a bit, and some things we want to have now here in Serbia. And that's why it was very important for me to also understand, and it was very interesting for me to know that your chamber founded organization, not funded, but founded.
Exactly.
If I can say, which means that you are really economy driven, and dual education is nothing. Like, it's very important to be economy driven mostly in each system. But as we said, I think that almost 10 years ago you started to work with Serbia, you as IBW and also the Austrian Chamber of Commerce. I have to say that that's more than I'm working in dual education in Serbia, so all eyes on you now to explain to us. But how was, like, at the beginning, how the cooperation started actually, and what motivated Austria to step in here in Serbia?
If I'm correctly informed, let's say the cooperation started even before, let's say, our dual VET project, because the Serbian chamber very much was designed along the experiences of the Austrian chamber. So at the end there are a lot of similarities between the Serbian Chamber of Commerce and the Austrian Chamber of Commerce, and I would say, let's say, when you compare it internationally, one of the really important features is that it's obligatory membership of all companies. So that gives you a sound, a hopefully sound financial basis to do your work, but it also gives you representation power. So you be the voice of the companies. And it's a very similar approach to what we do in Austria. And I think that's very important, especially for dual VET, because dual VET, without a strong voice of, let's say, the company side, the employer side, doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
So I would say kind of this cooperation between Austria and Serbia in VET started with the chamber reform, and then the next step, so to say, is our VET, our dual VET project, our first project. And as far as I know, because I'm not from the chamber, but the interest of Austria to engage in Serbia has very much to do with the heavy investment of Austrian companies in Serbia. So there are a lot of Austrian companies, and they complain. The companies usually always complain in any country, also in Austria, but they have, of course, a need for skilled person, and there's a lack of skilled person in Serbia. And then the idea came up, that might have something to do with, let's say, shortcomings in your VET system, and that there's no option of dual VET, and why not try to introduce dual VET in your VET system as an additional option for young people, that was the starting point for what followed.
Yes, in Serbia we started the whole story because of the companies, as you mentioned, Austrian and also Serbian companies that said, yeah, we need to do something when it comes to the education and when it comes to the lack of skilled workforce. We see the dual education as one of the ways how to deal with this big problem that I would say that not only Serbia has this problem, but the whole Europe or even the whole world has a problem with skilled people, and of course the dual VET is an approach which can help. But also what I wanted to say when you said so our chambers, I mean Austrian chamber and the Serbian chamber, we are quite similar because we learned from you, not only in dual VET but in the whole chamber system. But this mandatory membership also gives us a lot of obligations and a lot of job to give to the economy services that can be useful for them. That's why our voice in dual education is very, I would say, loud, and I think that's totally fine because we are the organization which knows what the economy needs.
Exactly. Yeah. And you have to be the voice of the companies and their interest. It doesn't mean that a dual VET system only has to follow, let's say, the voice of the companies. There are various interests. Of course, there are also the interest of the employees, the young people, of course, but never forget that dual VET for companies, or to have really a lot of companies to provide training opportunities to qualify young people, for them it must be a business case. It's not just corporate social responsibility and because we want to have a better world, things like that. At the end of the day, there's an economic rationale behind it.
Exactly.
And for that it's very important to have the employer side, the company side, from the beginning in the boat, so to say, as a policy stakeholder, as a co-decider with others, how a dual VET system should look like.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you have the same opinion for Serbia, but I think that here mostly the dual education system is school driven yet. I mean, it's not yet as we would like to be more economy driven, but we always forget one important thing. Yes, we are speaking about the education, we are speaking about the pupils, the students, but those pupils and students need to get knowledge and skills that they can use actually in 3 or 4 years in the labor market. So that's why it is very important to listen to the labor market. What do you need and how do you want to perform it? But Austrian system is one of the most successful dual education systems in Europe. I will just speak now like in the Europe. I'm not that much familiar with the systems in the world. I mean, there is a lot of different types of dual education all around the world. But when we are talking about the systems that are for us known, Austrian is one of the most successful. And what do you think? What is the secret ingredient in the Austrian system that makes it so successful, and what maybe you can tell us more about how it works in Austria?
The secret, that's a good question. It's very hard to answer about secrets. No,
nobody's listening to us, so please, you can tell me the secret. I will not tell anyone.
Well, let's see, probably also to compare it a bit to the Serbian situation, that you see a little bit also the difference and what might be probably in the pipeline for you for next steps. It's not to copy the Austrian system, that's not possible and that's not meaningful. Each country has to find its own solution, but to give an idea of how it could look like, even, let's say, for some dimension that maybe look a little bit extreme when you're coming from a full-time school-based system. In a full-time school-based system, also VET system, well, you are in the school, you are trained by teachers, and practical learning usually happens in school laboratories. That's fine, that's important, that's good, but it's clear that's simulation. That's simulation of real work. And an idea of what's going on in the reality is then a kind of summer internships, something like that. But then you usually try to apply in the company what you have learned in school. That's good approach. That's a meaningful approach. We have that system also. They can be excellent schools. So it can be a very good system. But the dual wet system is different. And I would say it's not the one is better than the other. One has to be clear about what each system has advantages and maybe some disadvantages. When it comes to dual wet, the story is completely different. Because in Austria we have, let's say, usually 3 years dual wet program. 80% of time, so 4 days in a week, the young people are in the company. They learn in the company alongside the work process. So there's no simulation of work. They are team members. They are colleagues of others.
They do the, let's say, the productive work.
They do the productive work. Of course, they start with easy things.
Of course.
Then advanced.
They learn.
They learn. It's a learning setting, but it's learning by doing. Yeah? And one day they're in a part-time school. So when I compared to Serbia, it's now about 50-50, maybe next time 60-40, we'll see. But you see in Austria it's 80-20. And in Germany, Switzerland, similar, it's 70-30. So it's in all the German-speaking countries, there's more time in the company than in school, and it's more time in the company compared to Serbia. So that might be an idea for the future, but it's of course about Serbia and the Serbian companies to decide if they want to go that way and if they are fit to go that way, because companies have to be competent in training young people. It's not just saying I want to do it, it's also the story about I have to be able to do it. And that's also a learning process for companies.
Exactly.
So that's one story. Another thing is that you need competent instructors. In school you have teachers. In companies you have instructors. These are skilled persons that you have to qualify. But of course you cannot qualify them, so you have to give them some kind of basic pedagogical expertise, to upgrade them a bit, but it's not the goal that they become teachers. Yeah? So that has to be minimized to what is needed, and it's also important because these instructors are employed by the company, are skilled workers there in the working process, and you cannot send them for 2 years to make teacher training. Yeah? You have to have a very short, basic training program for them. And let's say a third thing is governance. Usually school systems are governed by you have the ministry, maybe a regional level, school administration, the school. In Dual-Vet, in the German-speaking countries, it's basically the economic side, the employer side, also with in cooperation with, let's say, trade unions, the employee side, to decide about what's going on in Dual-Vet, how Dual-Vet looks like. What's an occupation? What's the content? How's the final exam? What's the salary? What's the training duration? All these things is not decided by the ministry or the government. It's basically decided, we call them social partners. So the employer side, the employee side. If they come to an arrangement, then of course it becomes law. You have the legal process by parliament and the government, but essentially the decision is done by the social partners. So the Chamber of Commerce with the partners, let's say, from the employee side. Yeah. And that's a very different governance than if you compare to, let's say, to a school-based system. Yeah. And the challenge, let's say, for any country that comes from a school-based system is and tries to introduce Dual-Vet to find their new mechanism, their new governance style for that part of VT.
But how it was from the beginning in Austria? Like you started with this kind of a system from the very beginning, or maybe let's say you started at the beginning with some smaller percentage, not 80-20 as you explained to us, or maybe education side was more involved, or it was like this from the very beginning?
The interesting thing is historically it's the complete opposite direction. You start from a full-time school-based VT system and try to introduce Dual-Vet, let's say, to engage the companies, and therefore have to bring in the voice of the companies, so the chamber, as a policy decider, stakeholder. In Austria, Germany, and Switzerland, it was historically the other way around, because Dual-Vet in these countries were based in the handicraft sector. And there was the self-organization of the guilds already in the Middle Ages. So it was a kind of a non-formal setting. They organized it by themselves, the employer side. And then, let's say in the 20th century, it started to formalize that the school came in. At first, Saturday non-obligatory schooling. They changed it then Saturday obligatory schooling. Then it was a non-formal qualification, became a formal qualification. So you see, the complete other way around.
Totally another way around.
Different. Yeah.
Yes, that approach. And when you say it's important always to think about the companies and to convince them to take a part in Dual-Vet, I assume that in Austria you don't have to convince them, because if they have this, let's say, this voice in making decisions, like if they are policymakers, probably they are already convinced that this model is for them. But, or maybe I'm wrong, you will tell us. But what do you think that it is essential for companies? Like what would you tell them, for example, companies in Serbia, why it is important to be a part of dual education?
Also in Austria we have to convince them. Of course, there are a lot of companies that are in the system and they see the advantages, of course. But it's not the goal that every company should train.
Exactly.
So let's say, I think the figures are in Austria that about 15 to 20% of all the companies who have at least one employee train. So 80% do not train. And it's often good that companies do not train. If they are not able to train, if they are not interested to train, for whatever reason, if they cannot fulfill the profile that is defined, that has to be trained for a certain occupation, then it's better they do not train. Because we want to have quality in training. So that's one story. And the other story is to convince companies that it makes sense has very much to do, let's say, how your dual VET model looks like. And the challenge usually is that companies very easily see the costs. You have to pay the wage for the apprentice. You have to pay, let's say, the wage for the instructor.
And to give the instructor.
To give them time to qualify the instructor. You have learning materials. All these things, that's costs. Easily seen, more or less.
Yeah.
But what's the benefit? Benefit very much depends if the trained person stays at your company afterwards, after training, that you have a skilled employee. That's one challenge. And the other thing is what's very hard to see, and often companies do not see, that it's learning by doing. So the person during the 3 years is working, is productive. And that part often companies do not see, or it's very hard to assess what it's really the productive, let's say, input from the apprentice or the young person itself. That's very hard to assess, and often companies do not see it. And the better the training in the company, usually the faster the young person is productive. Yeah? So has more input, has more positive, brings more benefit to the company.
And it probably depends on a time they are spending in the company.
Exactly.
They cannot do that if they spend 1 or 2 days during the whole education in the company.
Exactly. It's all about time being in company and quality of training in the company. That exactly. Are, let's say, the two main angles that very have a big influence on the benefit side.
And from your point of view, in these 10 years that we have now our cooperation in dual VET, what do you think that are the most advantages of a Serbian system? So what we did good? What would you say that we did good? And yeah, what is maybe like room for improvement?
I would say you already treat a tremendous way. When we started and where we are now, basically there is a dual VET system in place with, let's say, more or less all the important system elements. You have an accreditation process of training companies, so not every company is allowed to train. You have to check. You have meaningful criteria. You have a meaningful process how to check it. You have the qualification of instructors. You have that, hopefully, that the young persons are paid when they are in the company.
Yes, yeah.
You have you as the Chamber of Commerce as a very relevant policy stakeholder. You are the voice of the companies. You are recognized by the other partners. So it's not just saying, please, could we do it that way, but you can say, we need that, and you're an important voice, a co-decider. And I would say these are these kind of very essential elements that are there already. Let's say it is 50-50 or maybe 60-40 is compared to many other countries. So much already training done in companies that it's really tremendous when you compare where you started internships in summer for some weeks, and now you have at least half of the time, or around half of the time, training in the company. So that's tremendous things. What still would say would be kind of kind of topics for further reform is maybe how to extend that training time in companies. One has to have a look at that. But I would say the more pressing thing would be in the long run the allocation. So how does a young person and what's the voice of the young person of the companies that they match? In the German-speaking countries, a training company offers a training place, a young person applies. And they, let's say, bargain. They come to a solution, they match. If they match, then automatically the part-time vocational school is attached to it. Here, the story is the other way around. It's still your first school choice, and then a placement process with, I would say, limited space or limited options for companies and students really to match. It's much better than in other systems. It's already done a lot of work there that on the micro level, the relevant person can find together. That's their solution because they have to live together in a way. Yeah? But that still could be, from our perspective as an, let's say, German-speaking dual vet system, that could be changed or should be work on, giving the freedom of choice to companies and to students to find together, to match together. That could be a further reform step.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you actually, because probably with that kind of a system, when someone needs to apply for a job, not a job, but a workplace, workplace learning, work-based learning place, we assume that the motivation for gaining the learning there in the company would be much better. If I can say or add maybe something to your answer, I would say that we also in Serbia maybe have a lack of motivation of young people to pick the occupations that are offered not only in dual education but in BET schools. So we can now speak about why is it like that. It's not always because of the system, and it's not always because of the educational side. There is always some reasons in the society that we cannot sometimes fight with. But I would say that we have to work a lot on motivation of our young people to enroll in BET occupations, let's say, as well as in dual vet. And if we make it attractive, then we can make it also, that the students are more, pupils are more motivated to kind of fight for that precise place in that precise company.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, it's not only about motivation of the young people, it's also about motivation of the companies.
Yeah.
Because let's say in a setting where the traineeship, some weeks or one day per week, the student is in the company, then it's clearly, well, from the company perspective, the student is coming for the school student is coming for one day in my company. When you have an apprenticeship or dual vet system where the person is 4 days a week in the company, then it's my employee who also goes to school for one day. You see the difference? Yeah. It's completely the other way around.
The responsibility
so the responsibility, the engagement, the motivation from the company side is very different. And that's, let's say, that's the trigger also for quality in training. The company is then interested to provide good quality in training because it's in the self-interest of the company to have a skilled person at the end of the day.
Yes, exactly. And for these 10 years, we never, as a system, we never wanted to copy-paste things from the other system. We would like to. It would be much easier. I would
Unfortunately, it's not possible.
Unfortunately, it's not possible. So we have to work a lot. But we have that advantage, I would say, that we learn from different contexts, from Austria, Switzerland, Germany. We always want to hear things also from some other countries that are, dual education is developing in a lot of countries, not only in Europe, but in the whole world. And to pick, so to say, what to enter in the system, what to leave aside. Okay, this is not for us. But I would like to ask you what, from your point of view, was maybe the hardest to implement here from the Austrian system. Was there that kind of I don't know, a procedure or idea or whatever that was hard for you to convince us that it is good for our system?
Oh, difficult question, because at the end it turned out that it went astonishingly smoothly and fast because of you and because of your, I think also your openness and your interest in reform. But maybe what usually is hard is but it's in every learning process. It's a new thing, and you have to learn by doing. And of course, you make, let's say, mistakes, if one even can label it like a mistake. It's very hard to, let's say, change the mindset that the workplace can be a meaningful learning place. When we think about learning, we think about schools. When we think about schools, we think about learning. It's kind of synonymous in our brains. Even one only can also can question that. Yeah. Let's say simplification. But usually, the workplace isn't seen as a learning place. And to change that perspective for all players, from the kids to the ministries, to the chamber, to the companies, and also that it is not automatically a learning place. It needs preconditions. You need a setting, you need a governance setting, you need criteria, you need a learning process from the training companies, you need capacity in the chamber to deal with dual that meaningful. That's always a learning process, and then you make 2 steps forward, 1 back. And the good thing is, if you make 2 steps forwards and 1 back, at the end of the day you progress. Yeah. If you make 2 steps forwards and 3 steps back, then we are running into a problem. But luckily Serbia usually does 2 steps forwards or 3 steps forwards and a half step back. Yeah. So, and I would say the progress is really astonishing.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's always it's always good to hear that. We always think that there is like always a lot of things to do more, and that we always need to be better than we are. Maybe that's not bad, actually, but it gives us a bit of stress. I have to say. But usually when we are speaking about dual education or VET at all, we are always speaking also to reach some European goals, to, you know, that as your country, our country as well, we are part of some European, let's say, organizations that are dealing with VET, with dual education. It's a hot topic all over the Europe, and we always want to achieve these European standards. Like you can always hear here in Serbia, but these are European standards. You know that's good. Like we have to achieve that. So, what do you think? How we come closer to these European standards with the dual education? What do we achieve with the dual education so that we can be closer to the Europe?
I don't know if there exists something like a European standard. I would question that. Let's say we are living in an internationalized world, in an internationalized and globalized economy, labor market. So in a way, well, let's say the mechatronic in Serbia is not so much different what she or he has to know competency skills to have then from Germany, Switzerland, USA, anywhere in the world. So this is a kind of, let's say, from the kind of globalized world, from the kind of globalized production, there's a kind of level or benchmark or dimension that at nowadays people have to have these kind of skills. That's one thing, and the other thing, with a kind of example in the sense of a standard that is internationally recognized or comes, for example, when you look at the skills competitions, world or European skills, that for these professions where the competition exists, I would say these are very highly defined, a very high level that you have, and if you perform at that level, you are a very skilled young person, and that's a kind of benchmark or even goal. Not everybody can reach it, or it's even not necessary that everybody is at that level, but it's a kind of, let's say, benchmark goal, orientation line, what can be achieved, and also what can be achieved by VET, because these young people who are there, they have done VET, most of them dual VET, and have maybe 1 or 2 years experience, most of them who participate at the competition, but they are more or less graduates from the VET systems worldwide. And there you can see what level can be achieved.
Yes. And thank you for mentioning skills competitions. Actually, I get a bit emotional when it comes to the skills competitions. Really, I have to say that you gave us huge support in this matter as well. So we as a country performed for the first time in September this year in a Euroskills competition. So again, thank you for that. I would say that for a million times, because for me personally it was very important, and we wouldn't do anything without your help. You are in the competitions like for more than 20 years, and you know all the secret ingredients, again, how to do it. And so our national competition in Niš in April this year, and our performance in the Euroskills was thanks to you, to your expertise and your colleagues, and it was for us very important. And what you said, we are sometimes in this previous year or two, when we are talking about the skills competitions, sometimes we get the questions like, okay, but why is that now important for our country? Maybe we have some other things to do before. These are like the competitions, it's not, but we are always trying to explain why is that important. So thank you for your explanation, because now we saw there are some standards and some benchmarks, and we want to achieve them. And it's not only about the competing and be the best. Of course, it's very good when you're the best, and you as an Austrians were really very good in this Euroskills with a lot of medals, but that's the years of experience. But it's not, as I said, only about the competition. It's the standards that you get, the occupational profiles that they create in the Euroskills environment. You can take them and see where are you as a country, as a system of qualifications. Do you match these needs, or do you need to improve something in your system? That's what the added value of this skills competition is. So it's, I think that for our country it's really important to be part of it, and hopefully in next year, in a 1 year time, we will have another Serbian skills competition. So be prepared for that one too.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. So beside that part of our cooperation, what do you think that our next steps are in our joint cooperation here in Serbia?
We'll see. Basically, it will be defined by you, like it is always. So our part is, let's say, to bring in kind of experience and knowledge how we do it, what mistakes we made, what worked more or less good in our countries, and giving a bit of a kind of a critical feedback to maybe to your ideas, or bring in some new perspectives that one could do the one or the other thing differently. That's I would say it's our role. Next steps, I think some are in the discussion process now about the reform. Would be nice if it could be that the political agenda would be that it could be defined by law sooner than later. So it's expanding a bit, training time in companies, many other things that go hand in hand with it. And as I mentioned before, let's say kind of a mid-term or longer-term perspective is really the issue about, let's say, the matching of companies and young people to maybe further bring it into the direction that the two who will do the learning process in reality have a greater say, so the companies and the young person. And then it comes also to the topic about final exam.
Yeah.
That's, I think it's also a very important story, and really to, at the end of the day, let's say, come to a new cooperation setting, because still now the school is fully responsible, and the more you shift training and learning into the company, the less that approach works. You have to come to a co-arrangement that, let's say, the companies and the employer side is more or less responsible for the training in the company, and let's say the Ministry of Education or the schools are responsible for the training or for the learning in the school. And a company cannot go to the school and say, interfere there.
Yeah,
and
like this.
Let's say it's also delicate if the school comes to the company and say, hey, what you're doing there. Yeah. It's good to have information and to cooperate, but the responsibilities should be defined precisely. Where things happen, where are the tasks, where are the responsibilities.
Yes. And the topic that was not that much covered until now in dual education are the final exams. I would totally agree with you. And that's maybe a goal that you and me can add to our list, work on a final exams. I think that the engagement of the companies in that respect is also very much needed and important. It exists now in Serbia. I don't want to say that it doesn't exist, but it can be approved. We also hear from schools that it should be improved, and that the company instructors should be more involved into the final exams. So yeah, let's say that in our next episode we can say, yeah, we did it. Hopefully. We did it, and we managed to involve them more. But I wanted to ask you maybe as a last question, did you learn actually something from us? Because we are always talking about we are learning a lot of things from you, but and maybe I know one thing that you learned from us. That's time. That's time. That there is always plenty of time, even if you think there is no time to do something. If you have 3 days, that's totally enough. You really that I really can. That's true. That's definitely true. That sometimes it takes time, and then let's say suddenly in a way there's the change, and there's then the solution. That's one thing now. But what I really learned and what I really appreciate is that there are a lot of positive reform forces in your country. Not everybody, but that never. That's
exists.
Always the case, yeah.
But when for example, when I compare to Austria, and it's not that we have the perfect system. There are a lot of let's say, would be construction sites or topics to tackle, and how reform resistant we are in Austria. When I compare it to your situation, how reform interested and open to reform you are, then it's definitely a thing that Austria could learn from Serbia. And personally, what I learned, the more I have to think about, let's say, your situation or situation in other countries and the reform process, the better I would say I understand their own system at home. Because you usually grow up with a system, even you do vet research, you're thinking in, let's say, in broad ways. And there are always some topics that you take as guaranteed that it has to be done that way.
Is it like it is like that?
And then you come to another country, to another situation, and then you see they do it differently, and it also works good. And this is kind of learning process, and that's great.
Yeah, good, perfect. Thank you so much, Kurt.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed too in our episode. And really thank you for being here with us. And I think that you explained really a lot of very important things for us and for our further development in the dual education. And I'm really looking forward to all next steps that we will jointly have in the future regarding dual education. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great.
Hvala i vama na gledanju. Budite uz nas i u sledećoj epizodi podcasta o dualnom obrazovanju, a do tada doviđenja.